to show you this whole thing on the metaverse. All right. So I get a lot of questions about the metaverse from young and old. It doesn't matter. A lot of people don't understand it. So I'm going to try my best to break it down in the most simplest way possible. And I hope it lands. So think about two things. What we just went over, everything that we do in the virtual world. In order to see Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you cannot see into this world without a window, i.e., smartphone, tablet, computer, right? You need a window to look into this world. Otherwise, the digital world doesn't exist. I can't see it. You can't touch it even when you do see it. Um, in the physical world, in the real world, if we're all hanging out in Miami like we are, I can, bring out my physical album and say, hey, here's my baby, here's my mom. And I can say, hey, take the picture, hold the picture, look at the picture. I can tell you stories about my life, and you all can just say, hey, Julius, man, that's really cool. I'm so glad you went on that hike. That was really awesome, blah, blah, blah. And everything kind of stays there. And then you could take it out and say, man, I was talking to Julius and he told me about this hike. He climbed up Mount Everest with no jacket and he just did it. He was that guy. So you're able to share these stories, but there's no trace of it. In the metaverse, imagine, for instance, the way you still have to see it. You either have to see it via virtual reality, which is like kind of putting on some type of mechanism, goggles or something like that. And everything that you see virtually is just in that world. So you put on these, the real world goes away, and you only see the virtual world, and you're just looking around like, wow, this is cool. It's virtual. You could use your joystick or gloves and touch things in this virtual world, but you can't touch it because it's there in the virtual world. Augmented reality, so you have VR and then AR. Augmented reality is more like putting on some type of goggles or using your cell phone or tablet in augmenting reality, meaning that now I'm looking at my computer screen, this physical computer screen. I put on these glasses or I pick up my phone and I'm like, all right, let me augment this. And it's kind of like sometimes the heads up display in your car, if you have that, or if you see something as you're walking, you put on glasses and you're like, okay, I am going to put my directions in my glasses. This is coming, by the way. And as you're walking, you get to see the real world so you don't trip on the sidewalk, but you can see the directions as well in there. So it's augmenting. It's like another layer on top of reality, right? And you're walking, you're like, okay, go left. You're hearing it in your headphones. So it augments reality. Then you have the mixed reality, which is more like same idea as the virtual and the augmented, but now you could see with your glasses, and then you can actually pick something up, a science experiment in school, and say, hey, take container A and pour it in container B. And you're not really physically touching it, but you can actually act as though you're picking it up and pour it into this container, and everything's kind of done like Iron Man style. If you ever seen that movie where you're just Minority Report, moving things around and shifting things up. So it's one of the reasons why we've been doing these swipes on our phone and zooming and doing all of these different things, because it's been gearing us up for this next level. So we have this virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. The metaverse, when you put on this thing, it's almost like making the internet into like this 3D world. And you're going to be able to say, man, I want to go to Amazon.com or the Amazon store. And you can actually go look in there in this augmented or virtual reality, go into the store, pick up that t-shirt, pick up the toilet paper, throw it in your cart, and it's all virtual. And then it ends up at your door by a drone one day. Or, like one of those or delivery guy, or it could be a drone. So you have that whole metaverse, or you can play it like Sims. Like back in the day, people still play Sims to this day. It's an old school game, and you could just live in there. Now you can't eat in there, but you could act as though you're eating in there. So it's just a fake world, but it is big. And just a couple of pointers about it. The real estate world in the metaverse is like about a $500 million. People actually buying virtual land. It's crazy. And they're making a lot of money off of this virtual land that the only way you could see it is by putting something on and being able to get in there because they know how big it's going to be. So it's kind of like at the beginning of the 19th century, people were just like going to get land, and now they're going to grab it there. Or the .com era, to buy like a domain like bestbuy.com. That's how Mark Cuban got rich, buying all these different domains. So now people are buying this virtual land. In addition to that, they're buying virtual art, NFTs. You all heard of NFTs? Non-fungible tokens. So imagine this. You're going to see it. If you haven't heard about it, after today, you'll hear more and more about it. So as crazy as this sounds, this is very true. So again, you could buy virtual land, NFTs. This is all social media related. Imagine, for instance, we go to the Louvre in France and we want to go see the Mona Lisa. And we know that they own the Mona Lisa. We could just go and view it. So it's a physical entity that you can't touch, but it's there for you to view it. An NFT would be equivalent to me having a Mona Lisa in the virtual world, where it could only really be viewed in the virtual world. But when you see my Mona Lisa in the virtual world, you'll be like, Julius owns this Mona Lisa in the virtual world. I'm just going to screenshot it, and now I own it. Well, it doesn't work that way. So this NFT, non-fungible token, it's I have the digital rights to the Mona Lisa. So you can go and show that Mona Lisa to everybody in the world, but it's like who there's an association with me owning that particular piece of art in this world. So I can have in the metaverse, I can set up my own Louvre, and I can charge people 1 Bitcoin to go and view the Mona Lisa, the real Mona Lisa in the metaverse, and I can make money while I'm sleeping. And you all are just looking at the Mona Lisa because I own it. So a lot of people are buying art, NFTs. This is an NFT, and it's so many. Google it just to learn a little bit more about it. You can actually watch some YouTube videos on it, but it's like massive. It does not make sense. And there are people, I don't even know where they're getting this money at. Young people buying NFTs for like $20,000, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, and then reselling it a few months later for double, triple the price. And somebody's actually buying it, and they're not making payments. They're buying it outright. So you have things like that, and then you have all of this digital currency. So you hear about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then there's so many more. It's all about like not to confuse you, but it's literally just there's a record, there's a ledger with this money. You know, you can find $1 on the ground and be like, oh, just found $1. You don't know who the owner of that dollar is if it's not in the wallet. Well, in the Bitcoin world, there is an association that's kind of tied to you. Now, you can go and lock this away, where there was some guy who actually had, I want to say, don't quote me, but I think it was something ridiculous like $200 million in Bitcoin. And he locked it away and created a password so secure that he forgot the password. And he tried to hire a company, one of the best hacker companies in the world, to try to break into his wallet. And even though where he locked it in, it was just like a place that you can't break into. And he said, I'll give you a super high percentage of everything that I have if you can get my money back. I don't think they got this dude's money back. So he has all of this Bitcoin out there, and it's a lot of money. And he just created too strong of a password that he forgot himself. So it's all virtual. You cannot touch a Bitcoin. It lives in this world, but it is real money, and it's just all associated with where we're going to. So before we wrap up and open it up for Q&A, I just want to end on this note. Um, we were talking like before the call, and we were just talking about like how Nicole was sharing a story about how when she first met her husband, he was talking about the World Wide Web, and she was like, "Oh man, this dude is like really weird. He doesn't know what he's talking about. What is this thing?" And I thought it was really funny. I wanted to share it because she brought up a really good point. She said that her kids are saying, "Hey, that same thing that he was talking about at that point, that we didn't know where it was going, the trajectory, this is where we are right now." So everything that we have done thus far on the internet up until this day, and it's been some really cool stuff to come out. Um, I've always said, I'm like, man, we're in the dinosaur age of this. This is not it. And it doesn't mean that I'm like so excited about it. And it doesn't mean that I'm like, this is the end of the world. It's just very scary for a guy like me to know some of the stuff that I know. And I'm like, there are people that are so tied up in their own life and they're forgetting about the whole world by being locked into this device. That's why when you go out to restaurants, people are like, and you're like, oh, and they're just eating their food and they have their family right in front of them and they're not paying attention to them. Kid didn't even get to eat, but they're just on their phone. They're lost. So imagine when you put something physical over your eyes, right? And you get into that world. So everything is the good, the bad, and the ugly. We all have the good sides of it. But when it comes down to this world, it's not to say that where we're going is bad, but it's just like it's something that you need to be cognizant of and understand the trajectory as to where we're going. We're getting more immersive in this internet thing. So computer, like what we're at right now, this is very 2D ish, but it's going to get 3D, 4D ish because there will be a time where you're just kind of completely surrounded and everything will be virtual and you will have glasses like this that will be augmenting reality when you put in those directions, or someone's calling you up and they're on FaceTime and you're just able to get to see them and not ruin your day at all. It's all coming. The Jetsons are here. Uh, Back to the Future, we're there. Like all of this stuff, it's really cool where we are with technology, but that's why 5G and the internet is getting so fast, because how social media is really pushing us forward into this new world. So that's my perspective. I'm not saying that you all have to take that. That's just the way in which I see it. But that's it.